Today we are going to talk about water filtration, but not just what we use today, but what we've used in the past. Now, I've been backpacking since the 1970s, and so a lot has changed. The first thing that we used to do, and all we had to do were two things. We could boil water, and this is the newer stuff here, the newer camp stoves. But we had camp stoves back in the 70s. It was a little bit different and a lot harder to use, but you could also just boil it over the campfire if you were able to have one. And that's what we'd have to do. We'd boil the water for, I think they always told us to boil it for at least 2 minutes, but maybe 5. And then we'd have to let it cool down before we could even drink it, or you could always cook with it at that point. But for drinking water, that was rough because you had to wait a long time. The other option we have, now this is the newer versions, but there's always been these versions of, this is called Aquamira, and we used to always carry those, or even, I think we just did iodine at one point. Is it iodine?
I think so. Some kind of iodine drops.
Yeah, well, whatever
Which is
kind of
similar.
chemical drops.
Yeah.
So the chemical drops were good if you wanted to wait a few minutes, like 30 minutes or so, or whatever. And but it was always, the water was always kind of junky and stuff in it.
Yes.
So boiling it would at least get some of that out of it. We used to strain it with a bandana at that point too, to get some of the heavy stuff out. But then along came water filters, and this was one of the original Catadine, and this thing is heavy, probably weighs total of over maybe 2 pounds with all the stuff. But what it is a ceramic filter. The water would come up through this port, and when you pumped it, it would pressure push it through the ceramic filter. It's also was lined with some kind of silver something. I don't know what it was called. That would be antibacterial. And this is what we would use. You put the hose the right way. You connect this, then put the hose in the water, dangle it in the water. This is just like surgeons stuff they use in a hospital. And
We loved that thing.
way.
We didn't care. It was 2 pounds, right?
Now, we used to carry Nalgene bottles. We didn't do smart water bottles or any of that kind of stuff.
They didn't have them back
We
then.
just had a Nalgene bottle, like a 32-ounce one, and then you would just line it up here and squirt it in like that.
It took a while.
Yeah. Now, at the same time, they did have some gravity-fed bags that would use the same type of filter, ceramic filter, but it was very slow. Not like we can do today with our newer stuff. But then you'd have to always brush off the ceramic, and it was supposed to last for hundreds and hundreds of gallons. I'm sure it probably still works today. We just don't carry it because it's so heavy, and we kept it because it's a relic.
But we love it. We loved it when we got it. We thought it was the best thing ever. It was like, what is happening?
It was worth the wait because you're going to spend time and money on fuel and wasting time on burning and boiling water. So it was a godsend. Shortly after Catadine came out with these, all the other brands started to come out with pumps, and so we had probably 2 different ones. They
didn't last.
They didn't last because they were plastic, and also the filtering thing was a little bit different. It wasn't ceramic. It was more like what you see in a Sawyer or a Be-Free. But there were some ceramic ones too, and like I said, we had a couple of those, and they worked for a couple of years, a couple of seasons, but always something would break on the plastic.
Yep.
And eventually you couldn't get the parts to repair it, so you just got a new filter. I think MSR made one, Pure PUR made one. If we can find some pictures of it, we'll
stick it in there,
on the video of ones we used to use. But they work great, and they were a lot lighter than this. And just not as durable, so you had to be a little bit more careful. The next iteration that we used on one trip when we were trying to do the John Muir Trail, we got a lot of it done back in 2013 or 14, I can't remember, 2013 or 14, we used bladders in our backpacks, and we took this SteriPen, which is ultraviolet light.
The water there was so crystal clear that we thought
This was in the Sierras, yeah. So what you would do is you'd have to, how do you even turn this thing on? I
don't think the batteries.
I have to go through. You gotta have to Google it on, or go on YouTube to see how to do it. Yeah, the battery might, but there is a light in there. So the whole process was a blinking light there. You would put it into your water bottle, a wide mouth water bottle, or we also did it with our platypus bottles here, bladders. These were like one of the first bladders that came out, and then you would swirl it around until the light stops. And the ultraviolet light purifies the water, kills all the stuff you need to kill in there, and it worked. We didn't get sick, and also, in big systems throughout the world, that's what they use. They use ultraviolet light to purify the water because it's easy to do and easy to replicate in like countries that are way out in the wood, and they could just find a well and set up a system with ultraviolet light. That worked well, except you always had to make sure you had a battery, and it's way heavier than the other ones, but in your mind you're always like, did I really get it purified?
Yes. Well, and the water had to be somewhat clean. The dog is chewing on my arm, but
it would be that way.
It couldn't be like cloudy or anything like that.
So
it had
we
to be
used
clean.
bladders for those trips, and with the same system they have now. This was just platypus way back when. We kind of abandoned those once we got back into hiking, when we got into doing the AT and stuff like that, because at that point things have evolved and you could just take water bottles. And for us, it's just easier.
Go lay down. Go lay down. You're killing me, dog.
She thinks you're playing.
I know. She won't stop.
So in between that came the Sawyers and the Be Frees. And I know when we started the AT in 2020, these were available. So we would use a Sawyer. Actually, we first bought a mini Sawyer.
No bueno.
It was pretty pathetic. So we took, on the first trip, we took a mini Sawyer and a Catadine, which is this big one here, Catadine Be Free, and we loved it. It was easy to use. And then, like you said, the mini. So we ended up just getting 2 of these for most of our hiking on the AT that we did those couple of years. And they work great, except they would clog up. You just have to backwash them in the stream or shake it in the bottle. Now we use this, they come with a bag, but we use this a little more heavy duty. I forgot who made it, Hyde or something. But this one's still holding up and did well. And then we would take this big bag for large water and for gravity feed at camp.
Yeah, that was amazing.
So what I would have to do at camp, since I didn't have an adapter that went straight into our smart water bottles, I would set it up with my trekking poles or near a tree, hang it up, get the right height of the bottle. I don't have a bottle on me. And just make sure it was pouring into it, and you just watch it every now and then and make sure it didn't overflow and waste water. But most people back then were using Sawyers.
Everyone,
with the squeeze bottle. So what we do now is we usually take 2 filters with us, one of this type and a Sawyer, and we use this the bags here, another
CNOC.
Another large bag. This is the 3-liter one for us because there's 2 people, and it works out well. Again, gravity feed with the adapter at camp, or you could just squeeze it into your bottle while you're filtering. I don't think there's any other new things. I mean, these things do have expiration dates, so we had to buy several over the years. This is our backup, and we take it, especially when you're not sure about the filter or the water. You just want an extra measure of purification. Neither one of us has ever had Giardia.
Nope.
And so we usually don't drink straight out of any kind of stream unless it's super springy and super clear. We don't take the chance.
It's not fun.
But
yeah. So what was your very favorite What's your favorite one to use?
Oh,
on trail.
The newer stuff now, yeah.
Of course, the newer stuff's lighter, easier to carry. But of the two new ones,
2 ounces, 2 ounces. I mean, they're both great. This one's easier to clean, I think, and probably lasts longer. This one really flows great when you initially use it, it flows great, and it's quicker actually because you just fill your bag and
go
either drink from it or fill your bottle up.
Mm-hmm. How much water do you carry?
I just carry a liter of water, just to have.
But you are very, very good at cameling up, where
Yes.
I struggle with that, so I can't really drink as much as you.
Yeah.
Like at a water source, you're like drinking a gallon of water. I mean, not a gallon, but a lot.
Yeah, no, I would drink, for sure I would drink a whole liter every time I stop and filter water before we take off.
I have to carry more water because I can't camel up like you.
Yeah.
It's not fair, but it is what it is. That's how it is on the trail. Some people can camel, some people can't.
So I'm a heavy sweater, so I always have to make sure I drink a lot, but I can drink a lot, which is good. And make sure we take electrolytes now, and that just helps our body process the water better and just better for your overall health period in life.
Which ones did you take where? Like what?
Oh, okay. So, well, when I first started backpacking, we had to boil water. And shortly after that, I did get a little stove. It wasn't as nice as these, heavier, but it was still, it was a butane cartridge back then. And the thing about those, they were like a one-use thing. You would screw it into the can itself, puncture the can, and you couldn't take it off. You had to leave it on. So that was very inefficient, but it was better than boiling water. Then they switched to these lightweight stoves that you can screw on and off, which makes it so much better. So that was the 70s, the 80s. We were doing that.
We were also doing in the 80s. We were doing the ceramic pump.
Yeah. Like I said, when Catadine first came out with this,
it was like a miracle to us. We're like, what?
Yeah, they weren't cheap. They were like a good $150 or something like that.
That was a lot back then for something like that.
And the other filters in between were all of our little, our family hikes, backpacks, and weekend hikes. We didn't do any extended hikes once we started having kids. And then 2013 or 14, we were in the Sierras. That's when we kind of started to get back into backpacking again. And SteriPen was what we used for that one, and tablets.
Okay.
And then in between there, we didn't do much hiking because we were too busy with life. But I think anytime we went anywhere where we thought we might have to filter water, we took this and whatever other pump filter we had at the time. And this, of course, this is the recent ones, which work really great, and they're easy to replace and get new ones.
They're everywhere. Yeah, you can pick them up at every trail store. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing your experience over the last, how many? 40 years? 50? 50.
My first backpacking trip
50.
was 1973.
Wow. Right before you graduated from high school.
Yeah, it was like my junior year in high school. We went into the Sierras for a couple nights with the 3 or 4 guys from school.
That's where it all started.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, thank you for sharing, Mr. Miyagi.
You're welcome.